Ciao pandas, welcome to another hashtag Ask the Panda video. Today's question comes from Lindsay Miller from Christchurch, New Zealand. La Iglesia de Cristo, Christchurch, New Zealand, Nueva Zelanda. And she asked, hi pandas, my question is, I've been studying Spanish for 5 years and I can't help feel like I can't reach a native pronunciation. What can I do? Well, thank you Lindsay for this question. I know a lot of you out there are feeling the same way because it's something natural. Everyone who has learned a new language has been there. When you're at that point when you can speak fluently a certain language, let's say for example Spanish, you're trying to learn Spanish and you feel like, oh my god, I'm fluent. Yo puedo hablar español de forma fluida y tener una conversación. Okay, but then you can't help to feel like, for example, when you're talking to someone in Spanish and then that person automatically changes to English, when you're like, oh, buenos días, ¿cómo está? And then that person automatically answers in, I'm fine, thank you, and how are you? And you're like, how the hell did you know that I'm English? Like, I just talked to you in Spanish. That means that I've got an accent. That means that my pronunciation is not native. So what can you do? That's a great question and I hope I can help you all with this video. Okay, the first advice that I have to give you, and I know you're not gonna love this, is first, you're not gonna ever feel like you're speaking native Spanish. Second, you're not gonna be close to sound native. Why? Because you are not native. Period. You can work, and now I'm gonna give you exercises and tips on how to sound more native, but you can work as hell and work really hard, and there are big chances that you're not gonna sound like native. But hold, that's not something bad at all. Okay? There's nothing better than being able to talk to someone and although you know that that's not his native language, you're having a complete, thoughtful and perfect conversation. That's an incredible feeling. Take me, for example. I've got an accent. I've got a Spanish accent because I'm from Spain and I didn't learn English when I was a kid, but when I was a grown-up. And one of the best things when I travel the world, I could be in China, in New Zealand, in Miami, in whatever, one of the first conversations, oh, where are you from? I'm from Spain. Oh, Spain, blah, 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 blah. There are millions of people speaking perfect American, or perfect British, or perfect Spanish, whatever. But there's just one Spanish with your accent. The question comes from Lindsay. So in the whole world, there's just one Lindsay's Spanish, if that makes sense. There's nothing similar in the world. There's nothing close to the kind of Spanish that you, Lindsay, can speak. Exactly the same that the English that you're hearing from me, you won't hear it from anyone else, because this is José's English. This is my English. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you would lose part of your identity. All that I'm saying is focus on being able to be fluent and try to perfect your accent, but do not focus on that. It's not that important, okay? Again, I know you don't want to hear this because what you want are tips to sound more native, but as a language expert, I have to tell you, do not be embarrassed because of your accent. Just empower it. Now, my advice on how to sound more native. The most powerful tool you can use is try to deconstruct the language, if that makes sense. What I mean is, when you practice your listening, you're just listening. For example, you're listening in Spanish and you hear, mi nombre es José, yo vivo en Valencia, mi casa es verde, blah, 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 blah. And you hear it, and your main goal when you're practicing listening is just to understand what it's saying and being able to reply to that sentence, etc., etc. For the pronunciation, what you have to do is deconstruct the language and try to pick the tiny details on that listening. So go syllable by syllable and try to repeat it and try to sound exactly the same as you're hearing it. Something really good for this are tongue twisters. Not any tongue twisters, but the ones that hold the pronunciation that you have problems with. For example, Pablo y clavar. Pablito clavó un clavito que clavito clavó Pablito. So this is a fun way to just try to be picky on the way you pronounce the words. And then there's a final advice, which is melody. Almost every single language in the world has a melody. Some of them are more musical, like for example Argentinian or Italian, and others are not so much. Spanish is in the middle of that musicality matter, if that exists. Spanish has its own melody. If you get Spanish from Latin America, Mexican or Venezuelan, they have even more musicality. So try to focus on that melody, that way to speak. Sometimes stereotypes are hugely useful.
Can we get some salami and...
Brian, let me handle this. Scusi, babidi-boopy? Che cosa?
For example, if you know that you're talking Italian, then you have to talk like this. That's all like a music. Na 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 na.
Babidi-boopy? Babidi-boopity-babidi-babidi.
So when you're practicing your listening, try to focus on these tiny microscopic details that will take your pronunciation to another level. So that's all for now. Thank you, Lindsay, for asking. And if you have any other question about your Spanish, go to polyglotpanda.com/askthepanda and leave your question. That's all for now. Ciao, pandas!